Home Rule Charter Commission will now come to order. The invocation will be said by Mr. Mort, the pledge by Mr. Pochet. Would everybody rise?
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight as a commission. We pray for your wisdom and guidance as we look through this Home Rule Charter, that you would take us in the right direction, do what would be best for this parish, make our efforts fruitful. Thank you for this parish, the leadership in the parish. Pray you continue to bless this parish as you have to this point. Be with this great country as we enter a time of transition. Be with our soldiers, especially those overseas in harm's way, that if it be your will, you bring them home soon to their families. Again, be with us and grant us the wisdom we need to serve on this commission. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I thank all the fellow commissioners for being here tonight. Last meeting we didn't have a quorum, that we were not able to conduct a meeting, and we carried the agenda over from that meeting to this meeting. Ms. Secretary, would you make a roll call, please?
Commissioner Cazzo. Present. Commissioner Stewart.
Present.
Commissioner Shivers.
Present.
Commissioner Kluat.
Present.
Commissioner Luke.
Here.
Commissioner Pochet.
Present.
Commissioner Duplessis.
Present.
We'll now have the public comment sign-in period. Anyone wishing to speak on any item on the agenda, please come forward.
If you have a call now.
What's that?
If you have a call now.
Yeah, but you don't call them out until she gets to it.
Right.
The public sign-in period is closed. The next item on the agenda is old business. Item A would be to adopt the minutes of the meeting of November the 5th. It's now open.
I think she wanted to speak on it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have Ms. Catherine would like to speak on 4A.
Yes, Catherine Gupplet, good evening. There are two items that are of concern in the minutes of the November 5th meeting. Page 2, item 9, removing the oversight of the council over boards and commissions. And page 4, section 504, paragraph C2, removing the ability of the council to reinstate an employee fired by the president. Both motions were made by Commissioner Tasso and passed by the commission. I'd like to make some comments about the first one, oversight of boards and commissions. You have moved the oversight from the council and the parish president to the treasurer and the parish president. The treasurer is an appointed position and serves at the pleasure of the parish president. There is no accountability to the public in an appointed position. By putting control under the treasurer, you have given total control to the parish president alone. Section 412 at J should be left as it is. The council will share oversight with the parish president. Please reconsider this item for further discussion. Number 2, reinstating an employee at section 504. On October 1st, you took away the ability of the council to reinstate any department. I gave this paperwork to Chairman Kluat and highlighted your minutes from October 15th and November 5th, so it would be clear to you what I'm saying. You took away the ability of the council to reinstate any department head removed by the president. And then on November 5th, you took away the power of the council to reinstate any employee removed by the parish president. This really does tilt the balance of power into the hands of one man, the parish president. If you think about what's happening right now in our federal government, the president-elect has nominated or put forth names of people to be in his department as heads, but they have to be approved by the Senate. There's the balance of power. Two things to be aware of. First, parish employees are not in civil service. Second, the review board in the Human Resources Department is advisory in nature as stated in the charter, and as such cannot make any final decision. The opportunity for the council to reinstate an employee with a 2/3 vote is very important for the protection of employees. Finally, one housekeeping item. The decision to remove item 5 under section 607 on page 7. This was you deleted a resolution to remove that the council could remove any person from office. This actually contradicts your minutes of October 15th, Article 4, Section 409. You voted to defer discussion of removal of department heads until Section 303 was discussed, and now you've gone and taken the part out of the charter that says that the council will write a resolution about this. So I really think you need to strike out that part in November 5th, because you said you were going to defer that section of the charter. Okay? Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we'll take up the adoption of the minutes of November the 5th. Do I have a motion?
Research. So moved. Emotional.
In other words, do we have a motion to adopt the minutes of November the 5th meeting?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second.
Discussion?
Any discussions on this? Mr.
Well, I think Ms. Catherine raises an interesting point in that in one of our meetings we did move to defer on one item and do further discussion on it, and we had lumped some parts of the charter together that we would deal with all of it at one time. And then we did move on, I think, one of the items that we said we would do a more careful study on. And I'm not moving one way or the other or trying to sway anything, but I do want to point out, I think we need to be real careful in that we're not going against what we said we would do. And our minutes maybe indicate that. So I'm not making an argument for or against that. My point is we're not really doing what we said we would do. And I just want to caution and kind of raise a flag there that we be real careful and maybe do reconsider and revisit this whole entire deal. I think Ms. Terry's bringing up certainly some good and strong points, but they're very impacting. Those would not be minor changes to this charter, and I'm just making a point here that we want to be real careful and not go against what we said we would do 2 meetings ago, or whatever meeting that was, the October 5th meeting, is the only point. That's my only concern, is that we don't do that. It's not a matter of what the motions actually are. It's that we kind of went ahead and did what we said we wouldn't do before we had more discussion on those items.
Mr. Poche.
Mr. Chairman, I think the minutes are accurate as they have been projected here, and I think that Mr. Gregg makes a fine point that we, in fact, should make every effort to follow through with what we said we was going to do, and I feel very strongly that we are going to cover that part, and if you'd like, we can bring this back up at that time and lump them together when we take the other part, if it changes anything from what we did in these minutes.
Right. And I'm certainly in agreement with that, because it's my understanding, unless I'm seeing the purpose of this commission totally wrong, that anything we make motions on and we decide on at this stage, it doesn't become final until we go through the final steps. And so I'd just like to, for the record, let it be understood this is one we may well want to go back and revisit.
You're very correct, Mr. Duplessis. We will in phase 3, which I will get Mr. Luke to elaborate on that later on in the meeting. And we're definitely not nailing down everything in solid gold here, that these changes that we made will now be, we will revisit everything that we've done on the last step of the last phase, and Mr. Luke will go over that with us at later on in this commission meeting. We have a motion on the floor to accept the minutes in a second. Do we have anybody against? Motion passed. The next item is under new business. We will now take Article 7, Financing, Section 7.01, Budget. It is now open for discussion.
Where you at, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, I apologize. Yes, let's do, being a lengthy paragraphs or sections of this charter, let's do A first. 7-01 budget, item A.
I make a motion that we leave it as is.
A second.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we leave it as is.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Discussion on the motion. Against? Motion passed to remain. Next item will be B, 701B. Open for discussion.
Motion stays the same.
Second.
A motion to remain. Open for discussion. Opposed? Motion passes to remain. Section 7-01C.
Motion to leave it as is.
Second.
A motion to leave as is. Discussion. Opposed? Motion passes. Section 701D.
Motion stays the same. Second.
Motion is second to remain. Open for discussion. Opposed? Motion passes. 701E, item 1A. Open for discussion.
I make a motion to leave it as is.
Motion to leave it as is. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second? Discussion? Opposed? Motion passes. B, item B.
Motion to leave as is. Second.
Motion to leave it as with a second. Discussion? Opposed? Motion passes. Item C.
Motion stays the same.
Second.
Motion to remain with a second. Discussion? Opposed? Motion passes. D.
Motion to stay, same.
Second.
Motion to second to remain. Against? Motion to remain. Next item will be, that looks like that's number one that's been.
That was one thing and then the other.
Yeah, there was one A, B, C, D. Yeah, this is all, okay. All right, that's all A.
That's amendment.
Okay, right. Okay, so in other words, this would be all okay. Okay, item number 2. Open for discussion.
Motion to leave it as is.
Second.
Motion is second to remain. Discussion on the motion. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 3. Open for discussion.
Motion to leave as is.
Motion to leave it as is. Second. Discussion. Opposed? Motion passes. Number 4, item 4.
Motion to leave it as is.
Second.
Motion to leave it as is. Discussion on the motion. Opposed? Motion passes. Section 7-02, bond debt. Open for discussion.
Motion to leave as is.
Motion is second to leave it as is. Discussion? Opposed? Motion passes. Section 7-03.
Motion to leave as is.
Motion to leave as is. Any discussion? Opposed? Motion passes. 704.
Motion to leave it as is.
Motion to leave it as is.
Second.
Second. Discussion? Opposed? Motion passes. We'll now move on to Article 9. Article 9, Section 9-01, open for discussion.
Motion to leave it as is.
Motion to leave it is.
Whoa, hang on. I was back on A.
Mrs. Cashew, slow this thing down.
That's it. I've had a long day, so I spoke with counsel, and she advised that this would be the point in 9 in the origination area, that there might be a 9.01A, and I may be skipping the discussion about 9.01, but just for the sake of throwing this thing out here so it doesn't get by me, I would like to see this at this point where we discuss a mandatory review of the charter, and because Ms. Manda has recommended that this would be the spot, and in other charters that I have looked at, this is approximately where they stick them in.
So you're requesting that we add another item to the...
To 9.01. You would have an A.
Open for discussion.
And that would be just to simply
Mr. Chairman, you have a
schedule
motion on the
review.
table. Mr. Chairman, you have a motion on the table.
All right. You're not talking. I don't have, she doesn't have anything.
Recognize.
You didn't sign.
Yes, I did. I had 3 cards, sir.
It's 5B.
It's under mandatory.
Oh, okay. Excuse me, I'm very sorry. Look like I'm passing you tonight.
No, that's okay. I'm patient.
We have someone that would like to speak on Section 901. You got 3 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman Kluot. There is nothing to prevent the council from calling another commission to review the charter. Those who are most involved with the inner workings of government are most knowledgeable about changes that need to be made. You've experienced firsthand the difficulty of getting a quorum, having members resign, being assigned with a task when you have little understanding of the documents or their application. Why would you want to mandate this periodically on others? It does as a cost, time, money, and personnel. And then finding willing participants who will volunteer when all efforts may be set aside is not easy. In the end, the council will decide if they want to make any changes. The review process cannot be done without a review board. The parish president or citizens with 8 votes on the council can place any amendment or repeal of an article on the ballot. A petition is one option but has its own challenges. A lower percentage of qualified voters to validate this process might make it more doable. A mandate really does create more work for the secretaries who must attend meetings and type minutes. There's a principle here I think it's important to think about. I believe it's always better to give people a choice, not to mandate. And we're all familiar with mandates that come down from the government. These are some of my thoughts related to a mandated review of the charter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cascio. Ms. Cascio, you have the floor.
Casa. I'm going to start waiting for Miss Cascio to answer.
I'm sorry. I've had a bad day, too.
I know.
I've had a real bad day today.
Giving you some
okay,
brevity
Miss
here.
Terry,
There you go.
we have a motion on the floor.
I know.
Would you restate your motion?
My motion
No.
is,
We had a motion to
I
leave
just-
it as is, and she wanted to discuss it.
yes.
We had a motion.
So I guess
Oh, to leave it as it? Okay, I'm sorry.
procedurally,
She wanted
You
I'm
want
not
your
sure
motion
what
is
we
to
need do. My motion is that 9.01 be left, I suppose, and that A be added, but Ms. Mandel will have to advise me on that.
Mr. Porsche.
You're going to have to vote on 01 first.
Okay. And then add, then
If you
vote
wish
on
to
that.
add
If we,
something.
yes.
That's fine. I just
That's-
needed to know what was procedurally
Well,
correct.
That would be procedurally correct.
That's, okay, that's what I was asking. In other words, we need to vote on 9-01. Then if we need to add something in, it would come after
Right.
this.
That's
Okay,
great with
do
me.
I have a motion on the floor for 901?
You have that.
Okay,
Can she make a substitute motion?
She could make, no. Yes.
yes.
She
Yes.
can make a
Yes.
substitute
You
motion.
can always make a substitute motion.
We made a motion and a second. Now she can make us.
Correct.
Right.
Yes. So-
Pertaining to
All right.
901.
That's what you.
Thank you.
Pertaining
That's what
to
I'm
901.
not sure what the
pertaining to
procedure is.
901.
All right. So I'll do whatever you guys want me to do. And y'all don't hear that often from a woman.
Okay. In other words, we have a motion on the floor.
901.
901. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve or disapprove Section 901. To leave as is. Discussion on the motion. Opposed. Motion passes.
If Ms. Terry would like to interject something now.
Ms. Terry, now
Yeah.
if you would like to introduce
I would
adding
like to-
something to
Okay,
this
thank you.
section, please state it.
I would like to make a motion that a mandatory review of the charter be required. I would like some discussion from the Charter Commission about the number of years that they think need to go by between visits to this. And so I don't know if I present that in the form of a motion or if we're just having discussion right now.
We can discuss it right now. Anybody else wishing to discuss on Ms. Terry's?
I mean, I'll be happy to elaborate if you'd like on my reasoning.
Please do.
I think that times and trends in government change. Members of the council, members of the administration change. And often, the document in this parish particularly has not changed. It has not, because even though a commission was appointed, it was ignored. The recommendations of it were ignored. My thinking is that if we review it frequently enough, then at some point, some changes that need to be made will get made, by the very fact of the matter that at some point the structure of the council changes, or the people on the council change, or the administration changes, and back to those trends in government, that changes as well. So if we look at it, we will be giving this document an opportunity to grow with our parish and to adapt to the changes in our parish, or in our federal government for that matter, and state government. So it is just my feeling personally that it's a good idea. I've read the charters of other surrounding parishes. Many of them, I can't recall specific numbers right now, but I think most of them have a mandatory review of their charter. They vary by how many years. I'm willing to throw out any number of years. I think 5 is an excellent point, because you're looking at the fact that the council has changed and there are new faces there. Perhaps there's probably been an administrative change as well, so there may be new faces there. So I think a 5-year review of the charter would be my ideal. I appreciate the fact that this is a hard commission to put together and that it is difficult work, but I think it's necessary, and I don't believe that mandating it is a problem.
Mr. Poche.
Mr. Terry, I could argue for and against your proposal, but one fact remains: we cannot use the fact that the council may change or the administration may change in making a decision on this.
I agree.
The charter is for anyone who happens to be elected at that time. I'm not saying that I totally disagree with you, but there are a number of other charters who do not have a specific okay.
I agree. I didn't say they all did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. I thought you said all of them had that in there.
Did not. I said most of them did, but I was not familiar with the exact number. I can research that, but
if
I think that there are quite a number that do and some that don't. So I think it's a toss-up. It's a matter, and I'm not going to have my feelings hurt if we don't do it. It's not a personal thing for me. It's just what I believe would be a good idea.
Do we have any more discussions? Mr. Charles.
I don't see a problem with having the charter reviewed, but I think every 5 years would be probably a little bit too frequent for me. That's just a little bit too frequently trying to review the charter. It seems as all the problem that we went through in trying to maintain enough members to keep a quorum. So I wouldn't be opposed to maybe reviewing the charter, just at 5 years I think was just too frequent.
There are some that have 7, some that have 5.
I got a question. We're all aware of the fact that this commission has had a hard time keeping commissioners on this board. Would, Ms. Mann, the only way that the people can serve on this board would be appointed by the parish council? Am I correct?
That's correct.
And
we can't use that as a consideration either.
Well, I think I see Mr. Milton's
I'm just
point,
trying
though.
to see
if the
if there's-
council's not cooperating by appointing their members, then the council in itself is stalling our work and making our job more difficult. And I don't know if there's a reason why they're doing that or if they're not. If there's not a reason. But if it's mandatory and it's going to happen every 5 years or every 7 years, then eventually those guys or girls on that council are going to appoint their commissioners and the work's going to get done.
Mr. Luke.
Ms. Terry, can I ask you a question about your amendment? The word that comes into my would be, you said the charter shall or the charter may? be reviewed every.
I think to make it, the wording in the some surrounding parish charters is it is a mandatory review of the charter. It doesn't say shall or may. It says mandatory.
So it would be shall, right?
It would be shall.
Okay. Thank you.
It seems to me that the problem we having is the having people serve on this commission.
That can't be a consideration.
Yeah.
Mr. Poche?
I don't think we can use that as a consideration.
I'm not using. I'm just asking. I mean,
The merits of doing it or the merits of not doing it is what we need to discuss. Whether or not this council or a different council in the future appoints the proper number of people that don't or makes an effort to, I don't think it's germane to what we're discussing.
no, I think you misunderstood what I'm asking or what I'm saying. All I'm trying to say is there, and Ms. Amanda answered, is there any mechanism that can be added to this that would help the process or help people that sits on this commission, like we're sitting on this commission, to do our job with the proper number of commissioners?
That would be included. It would have to be in the rewording of the ordinance as the council passed the ordinance, as I understand it, in order to have a different structure to this commission, which is not my issue at this point. It might be my issue later on, but right now my issue is whether we should have a mandatory review.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Martin.
Suppose they brought up a good point, and I think as we're supposed to be looking at all of these, is merits for and against. Is there anything wrong with having it reviewed every so often as just a part of good government and keeping up as changes go along? 10 years, 7, 20, whatever number you want to put on it. Is there anything wrong with saying it has to be reviewed at a certain point? If so, let's talk about those. And if not, I mean, to me, I don't see where it hurts. So there's something in there that says it would hurt to make us have the statement in here in our charter that there'd be a mandatory review. What would it hurt?
Oh, I didn't mean that I was against a mandatory.
Now, I'm not saying you.
I'm
asking,
talking about,
if we're going to discuss
right,
the merits of it
yes.
up here, what are the merits? I mean, it seems to me like a kind of and again, not saying every other parish and not being all of them, but even those that do it, doesn't mean that they're right by having a mandatory review in there. But the point on the table is, if we say a mandatory review to be called for in X number of years, what are the bad merits of that? Are there any that you, as commissioners, see to doing that? Other than, obviously, we're stipulating something we feel like should be done every so often, whatever that time frame that this commission might would decide.
I think it would help the parish government, both on the executive and the legislature branch, in relation if there was something in there that periodically would give them a chance to review it on a regular basis.
Well, I think it always helps to know you're going to be reviewed.
Exactly. Mr. Luke, Mr. Ed.
The way I see it, Terry, is I would like to see the word. I could support your motion if your word would be may instead of shall, because I don't think mandatory is a right word at this time to say that they will do it. I think if the governing authority feels that there is a discrepancy or a problem in the charter, they could take it up at that time, or they could bring it up if we put may. But if we put shall, we're, in other words, mandating them to do it. And that would be my only problem so far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Poche?
Ms. Luba, I think that if we were going to put may, we could leave it out altogether.
Yeah, I agree
Absolutely.
with that. We don't have to
There's
put
no
it in
point
there.
doing anything. It's just like it is.
I disagree.
Sounds like it is.
I'm kind of like Charles. I disagree with every 5 years.
Yeah.
I would be more than likely to support like a 10-year review as opposed to a 5-year review. Reason being that as the charter stands today, It's existed for quite a number of years. I'm not saying that it didn't need a review prior to now, but I think that it would be sufficient to do so every 10 years. And I do believe it should be shall. Because if we put may, we just will not do it at all.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's a great compromise with me.
I think 10 years is pretty good.
Make a motion and let's move on that.
I think I'm real close on what Mr. Robert is trying to say, and this is my personal opinion of the charter as it is right now. It's not a real bad document. That it needs some changes, yeah, I believe it needs some changes. But my concern would be we're going to put ourselves in a situation where at almost on any given whim, we're ready to change our governing document to match our governing authority, and to me that's the wrong way. We need a good, solid governing document, and whoever we elect has to adhere to the document. And what we're talking about doing is making the document adhere to who's elected, and I'd be real careful about that. So my suggestion is, or my thoughts on this is, we get this review done, we present our recommended changes. Hopefully that will clean this document up for the first time, since it has not been changed since inception. So we're tweaking it now. Hopefully it'll get some attention this go around, and it gets tweaked, and it becomes a pretty rock solid and a good governing document. And I would not like to see us box ourselves in a corner that we're going to say every 10 years, let's take a look at it, maybe we want to change it. When no, we need to adhere to it. A lot of effort was put into writing this charter, and we're trying to tweak it a little bit. But it needs to stand, and the governing authority needs to stand behind it, and not the other way around. And in that regard, I would not be for a mandated review, whether it's every 10 years or 20 years. It'll come a time when enough folks will get interested and say, okay, it's now time for another, and we'll do just like we're doing now. But to mandate one, I'm not in support of that. That's my personal position.
Mr. Robert.
Yes, sir. One other thing I'd like to remind the commission members of, if we make it every 10 years, we probably won't, some of us sitting here won't have to fool with it anymore.
Amen.
Maybe a lot of us won't want to fool with it.
Yeah, Matt.
Ms. Terry.
Greg, I appreciate your point, and I hope I didn't have cause a misunderstanding by saying that the council changes or the parish president changes. But looking at what happened to the last Charter Review Commission, I draw from that in order to get any change made, there will have to be slow, gradual change. And that will take place by getting a little change now, and maybe a little change in 10 years, if that were the case, or maybe 5. But at least slowly this document would evolve with the trends in government. Not necessarily, and I'm certainly not advocating that it flip-flop one way or the other and not be a concrete document. I'm just advocating that it be a living document, subject to the changes in trends in government. I would use it as an example of that, as many of us know, the phone calls we get are about term limits. And we haven't even talked about that, but that is a current trend in government. That is not something that has been happening for 25 years. Term limits are kind of a relatively new concept, and the people are now beginning to call for it. We're not debating that issue. I'm just using it as an example that we do not know what the trend in government might be in 5 to 7 years, but it may be a very valid one that we would want to look at. Not that we want to destabilize this document in any way, shape, or form. Only that we want to be able to have it respond to the needs of the government to function efficiently and effectively.
Mr. Robert.
Mr. Chairman, I think if I understood what she wished in her motion was that it shall be at least every 10 years. That doesn't preclude the council from calling a charter commission at an earlier time.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
Absolutely.
to answer your point, they can call one every year if they choose to.
Sure.
But if I understood you, what you wish to make a motion on would be there's a mandate for at least every so many years.
A mandatory review at least at some point.
Yes.
And if they want to do it every year, that's fine with
That's
me.
what
I
I'm
won't
saying,
do
they
it
can.
again.
That's my point, is they don't have to wait 10 years or 5 years or
Right.
whatever. They can do it every year.
Right.
I'd like to say something on this right here. We have been hearing that if it's so much change to this charter that it may not get past the parish council. Last night I was just reviewing the minutes and the charter itself. If this charter was reviewed on a timely basis, there's a great possibility that the changes would then not be as many as to what we have right now. I'm looking at a chart right now that I personally made of the changes that we're recommending, the defers that will become changes, committees that will become changes, and council advisory, which will become changes. And right now, I'm looking at something like 22 to 23 changes to the charter right now that we either going to do or have done. But if it was reviewed on a regular basis, I don't know how, whether it be mandated or whether the council just do it on itself. Maybe these changes might not be so many. If we do put something in the charter, at least so many years or a certain amount of time that they do review it. But right now, if the council was to put this before the people, a lot of people may not quite understand all these changes, and it would not pass because
I agree.
they might not understand, even though it would be better mechanisms in the charter for our parish government to operate by. So my personal opinion is that whether we mandate or not mandate, I think we do need something in the charter that where they do have to review it every so often, but at their discretion they can review it at any time they want. That's my opinion.
I'll be happy to. I think I have a motion
Make a motion.
that we have a mandatory review, and I'll be happy to say a mandatory review every 10 years.
That's your motion?
That can be my motion. Yes.
I have a motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
Have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Opposed? Opposed. We have two opposed, Mr. Duplessis and Mr. Luke. The motion passes that we add under section 901A. The motion that was just passed by Ms. Terry. Next thing up for discussion will be section 902, item A. Item 1.
Motion stay the same.
Second.
Discussion on the motion. Opposed? Motion passed. Item 2.
Make a motion, leave it as.
Motion to leave it as in the second. Discussion on the motion.
I'd like to have some discussion on it.
Yes, ma'am.
The surrounding area, the average in this particular spot where you see 33% of the qualified electors, in our area the average is 15%. And this is a change by petition is, extremely difficult to accomplish with 33% of a very, very large electorate having to be signers and then verified as signers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think we would be more in line, and it would be possible for the individual elector to have more impact or have the possibility of having some impact on this document if they had less of them needed to at least get something on the ballot. So I would like to encourage us to look at a reduced number, but I'm certainly open to hearing everybody else's point of view on that.
Anyone else like to speak on item 2? Mr. Crochet.
It doesn't indicate the time frame that this petitioner has to obtain those names. I think that should be in there. As an example, like on a recall petition, they have a certain number of days. And I don't, this is open-ended, and I think that's just one of the things. If we're going to leave it, as opposed to leaving it as, I think that should be added to it.
Mr. Poche, is that what's referenced in number 3 on the next page?
I don't know how you got that.
Yeah.
Yep.
60.
Yes.
Within 60 days of
Yes, you're
specification,
right.
wouldn't that be when the petition was issued or called?
Yes, so
for,
it would
or-
not.
You're accurate, sir.
Well, I mean, should it be moved over to 2, or is it good?
As long as it's going to be in here, it's going to be okay.
It's in the
It's there.
part of the procedure.
Yep.
Petition.
Okay.
Any more discussion on item 2? Do I have a motion
Yes, you have a
We
motion.
got one in a second.
You have a motion.
and a second? Opposed? The motion passes as a change. Oh, excuse me.
Change.
Mr.
The motion, I think, was that it be left as
Left it
is.
is. Leave it as is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
had
Man,
some
I'm having a hard time today.
That's okay.
Okay, let's back up a little bit so we get this correct. Or should I back up and get it correct? Item number 2, you want to change from 33,
The motion is.
The motion is leave it as is.
Leave it as is,
It stays 33.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
because it takes care of
Correct.
3.
Mr. Poche, you may have to take my place tonight. You're right here. Okay, motion passed, remain. Item number 3.
No need to change that one.
And this is what
Yeah.
this is what Ken was talking about.
Yeah. Pete, Greg already brought it up.
Right.
Any discussion?
Robert, is that about in line with other petitions?
No. No.
No, it's not. Do I have a motion on this item number 3?
I'll make a motion, leave it as is.
A second.
Motion is second to leave it as is. Discussion on the motion. Opposed? Motion passed. Remains. Next section will be 9-03. Open for discussion.
Motion leave the same.
Second.
Motion is second to leave it as is. Discussion on the motion. Opposed? Motion passed. Next item will be 904, Section A.
Sure, we might want to look at increasing that number of years. Every 2 years.
That goes back to what Miss.
You'll leave it as it is. Oh.
Do I have a motion on item A?
Leave as is.
Motion to leave it as is.
Second.
Second. Opposed? Motion passed. Item B.
Leave as is.
Second.
Motion is second to leave item B as is. Discussion on the motion. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we're going to move on to Article 10.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Terry.
10 are all relevant to the transition from the original police jury to the new home rule charter back in 1996. So is there any reason why we have to go over those specifically? I mean, I think those are just historical by nature now.
I think, being as we're going by item, let's just go item by item, and if it is, we're going to leave it like it is. Let's actually go through with a motion and a second and vote it, Ms. Terry, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
I have a guest that wants to speak on one of them, so we're definitely going to have to go through one of them. I keep forgetting her, so I didn't forget her this time. Okay, discussion on section 10-01.
Motion leave as is.
Second.
Motion is second to leave it as is. Opposed? Motion passes. Section 10-02.
Motion leave as is.
Second.
Motion to leave it as is. And a second. Discussion on the motion. Opposed? Motion passes. Section 10-03. Item A. Open for discussion.
Motion leave as is.
Second.
Motion is second to leave it as is. Open for discussion. Opposed? Motion passes. Remain as it is. Section B.
Leave as is. Motion.
Motion and a second to leave it as is. Discussion on the motion. Opposed? Motion passes. Item C.
Motion stay as is.
Second.
Motion is second to leave it as is. Discussion on the motion. Opposed? Motion passes. Remains. We have someone that would like to speak. Ms. Catherine would like to speak on section 10-04.
Yes, Chairman Kluot, I gave you a piece of paper to hand out to the...
I did. I passed to each one of the
Great.
commissioners.
Okay, good. Sometimes it helps to have a visual in front of you. Right now, as the charter reads, if we put a change on the ballot before the voters, prior to the election itself, or going into the booth to push what they want to put yea or nay, there's only two places that the actual wording of the changes are to be written. One is in the official journal of the parish. Now, the official journal is the Ascension Weekly Citizen. I called this week. Their circulation is 5,500 on Tuesday and 6,500 on Friday. So, assuming that each household that receives that paper has two people in it, we have approximately 10,000 to 12,000 people that are reading the paper, would have opportunity to look at the public notice in the back of the paper in the small print. Okay? So that leaves us out, and also I called the Register of Voters office today, and we have presently in our parish about 64,000 registered voters. So the official journal of the parish would only list in this official journal, and about 20% would have an opportunity to read the actual verbiage. Okay? Now, how many do you think would read the fine print in the public notice? And how many do you think, the second way you can go find out what's actually, what the verbiage of the change, because it's not going to be on the ballot now, the way it's in the charter now. The second way is to go to the parish secretary's office and request that document from her. She will have a final draft in her office. Now, Miss Suzanne knows me well because I go to the office and I request public records, but I don't think there are that many people that are going to request a public record. I really think it would be best and recommend that if we were, since we're changing the charter, we want to make some good changes. If you would change you can see where I've just put in a couple words. They have the police jury. I think we should change that to council. We should take out the and add the words at the end of the ballot verbiage that say this. Well, let me read what it says. Shall a home rule charter and plan of government of the Parish of Ascension, Louisiana, as prepared and submitted by the duly constituted Charter Commission according to Article 6, Section 5 of the Constitution, be approved and adopted in such form and substance as a final draft copy on file with the Secretary of the Council of the Parish of Ascension, Louisiana, and published in the official journal of the Parish of Ascension, Louisiana. Now that's where it stops right now. So the person's going to get in the booth, and they're going to say yes or no. Do you want to change the charter? And all they're going to see is a yes or no. They don't know what's going to be changed. I think that's not good. We need to be informed when we vote. So I'm asking that we say "and written" in their entirety on this ballot, so that when they go in to vote, you put down, just like when we do a constitutional amendment. This last the last election, we had the constitutional amendments were actually written on the ballot so people could go up and read them. Okay? And I really think that we need to do that with the charter. And I thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Catherine. We'll take your thoughts. Section 1004, open for discussion amongst the council, the commissions.
Maybe I've been reading this wrong based on that, but I thought 1004 had to do strictly with the referendum that introduced this charter and went from police jury to the type of government that we have now with a charter. Does that maybe Ms. Manda could enlighten that? I thought this was just a historical
That's the impression that I got, but maybe Mr. Poche can enlighten us.
Mr. Robert?
Mr. Robert,
You enlighten us?
was that put there when y'all did the original charter? How was that done?
This is. I have to agree with the speaker. There's hardly any way to get full information to all the people that's going to vote. We have the same problem in the election that we have. I'll cite a small example. Some of the things that went on in the last election, I put it on the radio, we had it on TV, put it in 3 newspapers, the East Bank, the West Bank, and the Morning Advocate, which has the biggest circulation in this parish. And y'all would be surprised how many people say, well, I never heard of that. There's, other than going to their door and knocking on the door and making them aware of it, there's hardly any way of making everyone aware of it. I think it's the citizens' responsibility to some degree to make themselves informed. These meetings are televised. At the time that we finalize our report and give it to the council, their meeting will be televised. That will be a public meeting that will be televised. I know that everybody don't watch it, but there's no mandated way to make everyone aware of it. I'm not opposed to writing the language out. I'm only pointing out that should you write it out in full form, you're still not going to get all the people to read it. If we write it out in full form, all the people cannot read it within the 3-minute time frame restricted on elections.
I guess my question, though, is
you were accurate.
Brought up a good point, but wouldn't that maybe need to be spelled out under 903 when it talks about an election, which would be done to make a change to this charter?
You are accurate,
Again, I think 1004 was the historical data. That's what it read when it went to the people of Ascension Parish to adopt this charter.
That was it.
So I don't think that should change, but I agree that maybe instead of just, when it talks about under 903 under elections, about how it takes place a change either by petition or by 2/3 of the governing authority here, and it talks about when it's all declared and determined to be sufficient, the petition and stuff, then it goes to an election, and then after the election, if it's approved by the majority of the voters, then it's within 30 days is effective. Maybe that's somewhere in there. Maybe a change would be made stating it needs to be put in more than just the parish official journal or something like that.
Mr. Porsche?
How about this, Mark? If you go to 10.04 and you make it 8,
10.
and it would be for charter revision elections.
I mean, I don't have no
You
problem.
see what I'm saying?
I was kind of like Ms. Terry said earlier. I
what
thought
you were talking about
most of
earlier,
10 is just all historical stuff from when
That
this
was.
was adopted originally.
Originally adopted.
Okay.
So, I mean, I have nothing against the point that was made about maybe doing something in addition to try to get the word out where people could see it. I have no problem, just like the state, even though they get awful small, if you list the whole thing on the ballot when you get in there to vote, it reads the whole requested change or whatever that you're going to vote on. I mean, I think it's great. I just don't know that it ought to go under 1004. Maybe it ought to go somewhere else.
May I say something? And that just illustrates what we talked about it before about reviewing the charter, to where if this was some type of thing where we review it every so often, then the amount of changes that would go before the people would be less, and the 3-minute time frame would then not be a problem. And I agree that this looked like a historical thing, but I also agree that we need to somehow or another let the people know about these changes that are being made, other than just saying the Home Rule Charter has a change, yes or no. Ms. Terry.
I'm in agreement with the recommendation here for these specific changes. I think the issue is just where do we put it? And we would probably need help from legal on that.
Miss Manda,
Somewhere.
can we indulge on you to research this a little bit more, and when we come back for our final review, have a little report to give us so we can go ahead and add this into it?
I'd be happy to do that, but just in reading the charter, I think it would be best added to Section 903 under election.
Okay, then that's very fine with me. 'Cause what about the rest of the commissioners on this board?
Let's put it under 903.
And what we're basically saying is whatever changes go that may get submitted to be voted on by the people will actually be on the ballot.
I think the biggest thing was the change would be spelled out.
Right. They'll be written out on the
Written in
ballot.
its
The ballot
entirety.
itself, written in its entirety.
And I think that's a great thing.
Right.
And I also think
do
that
too.
we may get a lot of repercussions because we may have a lot of changes this time that would require a lot of reading and a lot of studying for the electoral voters that would require them before. But if we do go back, if we do have this changes of this charter every so often, then we would not be facing what we're facing right now.
Did you say 903, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
903, yes, 903.
Mr. Chairman, 903 is specifically pertaining to petitions.
Let me, they said it, I didn't get a chance to look at it, let me see. Ms. Manda, what did you say, where would be a good place if we was going to do this? That would be put,
I said Section 903.
903? Let's see.
That refers to the elections.
Elections.
Well, I think either way, whether it's done by petition or by the governing authority, it still had to go for an election.
Right. Either way.
Is that correct? No matter how, if the council by 2/3 majority decided to amend it, or if I started a petition and got enough signatures, it would still have to go to an election
Same thing.
to the people. So I'm thinking maybe 903A.
Yes, I think that'd be the best place
I mean,
for
I'll
it.
make that motion that the proposed change be
Notification.
written in its entirety on the ballot,
I second it.
and propose that under Section 903, I guess, is A.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second, open for discussion. Mr. Robert.
Yeah. 04 pertains to the actual charter ballot, is what we done on the passing it originally.
Yeah.
But 04 would seem to me the place where you would also put a charter amendment ballot. I'll go with legal on that one way or the other.
Robert, you're looking at 903 as only for
Petitions.
a petition.
yes.
Procedure for a petition. huh?
That's correct. That's what it says.
Procedure by petition.
And 04 pertains to charter ballots, and we're making an amendments to the charter.
Well,
I
the
think that would
heading
be
under
the place
Section
to-
903 is election, and I will
What?
address both petition and when the council by 2/3 vote decides to put something to the ballot. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No,
No.
and I
Under
don't agree.
Section 903,
I don't
903.
understand.
it's entitled election. So when there's an election called, I understand what you're saying, that it refers to, let's see, the amendment by petition. But in Section A, I can address both amendment by petition and amendment by 2/3 vote of the governing authority as well. because I presume that that's what you all intend.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it would be for
Either way,
any
yeah.
election related to a
It's
change
almost like-
in the charter.
It's almost
Yeah,
like
I think 903
needs to
refers
move under
equally to
1004.
902 and to 901. And it doesn't specify that it only refers to 902.
Remember, two-thirds votes of members of the governing authority. Well, that was, the way we
Because
do,
Mark is right.
Well, we can sit here and maybe discuss where it goes all night. Can we just
I
let,
think what Ms. Lindsay's saying is that when
Yes.
she would write A in the legal terms, it would then specify under A that the requested change would be spelled out in its entirety for the election, whether it be by two-thirds of the council calling for it or whether it was by petition. But it would just fall under the big heading of elections, but it would be a separate little sub-paragraph.
it would be adding A to section 903 elections, would be adding A to achieve what we're trying to achieve.
And it would
Is that
spell
correct,
out
Ms. Manda?
by either way.
I will add that to section 903. I'm not sure if it will be, A and B or which order
Right.
I'll place it in, but yes.
Just add it to the section.
Okay.
Just add it to the section.
Excuse me, Chairman
Do
Clark.
I?
Just a quick comment, and that is that I appreciate your
I'll indulge
discussion.
on you, Ms. Catherine. Go ahead.
Discussion. Thank you. And also for Mr. Poche, normally they post the ballot outside
Before
the
you go in.
precinct. So before you go in, you don't have to take 3 minutes to read everything. You can look at the ballot before you go in, review the items, and then also the paper often puts the ballot actually as it is printed in the newspaper, and I often use that. My family uses that, and we look at it, we read it, we talk about it, and then so even if it's long and lengthy, which it may be, if the council decides to add several of these changes, there will be I think more opportunity if it's in its entirety on the ballot for the people to actually know what the verbiage is. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Catherine. So let's start from the beginning. We're going to leave, first of all, let's go back to section 1004, and let's discuss that right now. Let's take
Leave as is.
a motion and a second to leave 1004 as is. Discussion on the motion. Opposed? Motion passes. Now, let's go back.
I'll request, Mr. Chairman, could we please go back and review section 903?
You have granted that request.
And I'll make the motion
Again.
again that we, under this review, that we relook at 903, and I'll make a new motion that any request to change, whether it be by two-thirds of the council calling for an election to make a change in the charter, or by petition of the public to make a change, that any changes to the charter be written in its entirety on the ballot. And add that under section 903 as legal determines it should be placed in there.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just while we're on this election, if it makes it that far and something gets put on the ballot, it's going to be a one-time vote. In other words, they may list, let's say they elect to put 10 changes. Are you going to have 10 options to vote yes or no, or are you going to have one option to vote yes or no and accept them all? Or
I would-
reject them all?
I would think
One time.
one time, right?
Vote for the change.
I mean, that was something I hadn't thought about previously, but we're talking about
Well,
multiple
the
changes.
The commission has the right to line item any one of them that they wish. And when they send that proposal to be voted on, you either vote yes or no on the whole proposal.
Would that be correct, Ms. Mann?
I'm not sure about the ballot, but I do know the council takes up each issue separately.
Right, yes.
On the ballot, you will
The
vote
ballot
yes or
would
no
be-
for the changes.
Right.
Okay.
In its entirety.
Okay, all right. we through that. Okay, the next item is number 6. I have asked Mr. Loop to go over a review and to see where we stand. We have gone through the charter. Yes, sir. We finish. We're on agenda item number 6. Am I right or wrong?
I think you added one in there, didn't you?
No, I'm talking about.
I'm looking at my old one.
Oh, yeah.
He's on
I'm talking
6
about
on
agenda item number 6.
agenda item number 6, not Article 6.
Yes.
Yeah. What did I say? Article?
No.
Oh Lord, it's been a rough day today, gentlemen and ladies. Okay, we're going to review item number 6 on the agenda, the review of the outline procedures to establish reports of the recommendations, Commissioner Sidman Luke. Mr. Luke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I looked at the outline, and the Home Rule Charter Commission review of the charter is complete. Our recommendations are so noted with only those items to complete. To complete is A, deferred items, B, table items, C, subcommittee reports, and D, any item a commissioner may deem necessary. Now, phase 2, which is our next one, which is, I think we have completed that, and also is letting the elected officials and ex-officials of the parish government give their input and views of the charter and give us their recommendation. This was completed with the officials either addressing the commission or sending us email. And all of the suggestions that they, or requests that they have submitted to us have been reviewed and acted upon by the commission. Before phase 3, before we get to phase 3, we should have our next meeting in December to review the deferred, tabled, or hear from the subcommittee report and be prepared to vote on these items. This will be the commission's last recommendation. So that would take care of that would start phase 3. Now remember, on phase 3, we have one meeting in January. And one meeting in January to make a final vote on all recommendations, to compile a report entitled Report of Recommendations and be signed by each member of the commission. Remember that each recommendation shall be separately adopted by the commission. The vote of each recommendation in the report shall be identified in the report by the number of yeas and nays, including commission name, a member's name, by each recorded vote. This is per the ordinance. So I would think that if we do our business straight, we can have one meeting in December and wrap it up in January. I hope the commission follows me on this line, and we can come into the next meeting prepared to vote on all of these.
Do I have anyone wanting to discuss what Mr. Loop has just presented? I want to personally thank each and every one of y'all here. It's been hard. I know it's not the end of this thing yet, and I personally want to thank each and every commission on this commission. I feel like that we have done a tremendous job, most of all, getting along. I'm very, very proud of us, and I'm proud of y'all, as everybody on this commission has expressed their views, and we did it in a professional way. I reiterate what Mr. Loop said, for us to be ready in the next meeting to wrap this thing up and be able to vote on all our deferred and committee items and be able to present this to the parish council. We have a few members that I'd like to mention that had to get off for medical reasons, and that was Miss Diane, which she elected to please ask to be stayed on, but she was involved in a serious accident, and she has the reason why she has missed the last several meetings. And Mr. Leary had to get off because he had eye problems and asked to be removed or replaced. But again, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for what it's worth. I'm proud of this commission, and I think we went into this not really knowing what we was going to do or how we had to do. So with this, I close. or if anyone else would like to say something. Mr. Luke.
I forgot to ask our secretary, is this adequate enough time for you to get those items which have been deferred, tabled in 2 weeks? And have, so we can...
Yeah, I would respectfully request that you and I sit down together and maybe go over this.
No problem. No problem.
I failed to mention our counterparts, our secretary and our legal assistants here and in helping us with this project, and I'm just ready to excited to get it all done and present it to the council and see what goes from there, hoping that they can get it to the people, and let's see what the people say. And again, I asked if anyone else would like to say anything. I'd appreciate it. If not, Mr. Poche?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. You got it.